Yeah, so welcome. So here, I just would like to explain some of the important things here. And the first of all, in Python, almost all uh, syntax is based on two important elements that is called as attributes and methods. And every time when we type something in Python, especially using pandas or some other packages, everything is based on attributes and methods. For example, what is attribute and what is methods, we will need to understand. So it's mentioned that attributes and methods are fundamental concepts related to whatever objects you create or what kind of variables you generate. And it's very important in object-oriented programming. And usually methods are invoked in parentheses. Attributes are accessed without parentheses, right? So then first of all, understand what is methods. Methods are functions associated with objects or class. They are called as, mostly, for example, I have it in a data frame, and using that data frame, I just want to print a summary. I just print actually summary. In order to print the summary, I just use some kind of methods. So, and if you look at attributes, attributes are nothing but more of a description. Description in the sense, and we ask to explain the characteristics of something, and and using these characters, we'll be able to understand the properties of the data or something so on. That is all about attributes. So, for example, you are actually trying to understand the column name, so column index, shapes, or some shape is nothing but so how many dimensions are there? You are simply trying to describe something. So, in order to describe the characters, we use attributes, and in order to do some kind of understanding the behavior or transformation or creating some kind of fundamental change in this particular object which you create, is we use some functions, and that is related to methods. So I'll type here. Here I just create a new notebook. Notebook name is methods and attributes. Okay, something like that. I just rename it, and let me do one thing. I'll create the headings, methods and attributes. All right, and let me actually create as a markdown, and let me print. First of all, let me read the data, and I call it as df. That's a nomenclature. Cledger we actually used in order to read the data and make it df is equal to read pd. That even before that we need the pandas package. We need to say import pandas as pd, and we execute, and then we read the data, and we say that df is equal to pd dot read underscore csv, and I just going to read a data called as flights dot csv. Let me read the data. Okay, so when we read the data and we want to understand what are the fundamental methods and attributes associated with, right? So whenever you look at methods and attribute, and primarily methods are related to sometimes data frame, that is df is a data frame, as well as a series. Series is nothing but this particular column from a data. It'll be different. For example, there are some common methods with respect to series, but there are some methods with respect to data frame as well. And I'll show you what are those method which is common, and or what are those method which is very specifically into series as well. For example, the head function, tail function. So head and tail function help us in terms of getting the first 5 or 6 headings from your data frame. That is very common to both. Okay, for example, if you have a df, you can mention df head 5, so that you'll be able to get the top 5 rows from your data set, that is data frame. And you can also use the info, and info always print a summary. In terms, it'll do the calculation of data type, no null values, and its memory usage. Do some kind of functions or calculation. That's the reason info also comes in your. So I can copy this one because my data frame name is what df, and I can come back here. I can implement something here. For example, if I implement this function here, so you see here, you'll be able to print And this is actually a kind of method. Is it true? Because methods are generally mentioned in terms of parentheses, and at the same time, a head function help us in terms of getting some important, behavior. That is nothing but the headings. Okay, that's the reason I just call it as head. And again, similarly here, you can also use a df a dot tail function. So you can mention tail function. Tails also will print something this way, so you'll be able to see that last rows of your data frame. Similarly, we have so many other functions. Let us proceed with that. For example, info functions. So info function help us in terms of getting the characteristics of your data frame. Mostly it's trying to print the characteristics. For example, here you can see mostly the data details, including that memory usage and the type of data, the data types you have. It's everything in details, trying to do some kind of functions to explain the characteristics in detail, right? Is it true? It's explain the behavior of your data. That's the reason info comes in methods, okay? And also you can see some of other, um, you know, for example, describe function help us in terms of getting things here. So you can see describe. All right, you can see the describe function, right? It will describe the details: count, mean, standard deviation, 25 percentile, 50 percentile, 75 percentile, and maximum value reported in this column or something so on. Also, we can see the other group by, and group by and all, we learn data based on some columns we want to group the data. We can use a group by. And similarly, there are some characteristics with respect to series as well. And for example, if you look at, let me create a series so that you'll be able to understand. Let me do one thing. I'll create a series. Let's assume age as a series I'm creating, and I put square bracket 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Let's assume. So this is actually a series, all right? And or it's not a series, it's a list. Okay, so if I want to say pd dot, you can say series. Okay, you can mention pd dot series, or you can type it become a series, right? And let me create age as a series. That is showing a trouble, and the object, the type is not subscribable. That's what the reason it's showing. And let me do the bracket change so that you'll be able to see it's a series, right? So let me create a series here. pd.series is a method. Okay, that's the reason. And let me create a series here. So let me look at pd.series here. Yes, here the problem is that pd.series, let me retype it again. I'll say age is equal to pd.series as capital. You can say that it's a method. Okay, inside you need to mention the list of elements here: 22, 23, 24, 25, something so on. If you print it, you can see, you can print age. You'll be able to see there is data type integer. It's actually a series. Okay, so you can see here. And let me look at some of the functions or some of the method with respect to head function. That's a common. Head and tail will work for series. For example, I can say and value count or unique or whatever may be. So I can say the name of the series is going to be what. So I'll say, let me do head and tail works here as well. Let me look at age is a series dot head. Simply print actually the headings, or you can print the tail. It'll work. Okay, so you just ask unique, right? It'll work. Something like that will be able to work on all these aspects as well, right? This is with respect to series as well as data frame. Some of these are common. Some of them are actually very unique as well. For example, here series where you can look at mean, sum, min, max, standard deviation, something like that. Okay, so and you can also sort the values or from the series. So that is also possible. Sort series is very unique with respect to that. So afterward, there are some attributes. With respect to attribute, I told you, mostly explaining the characteristics of properties. That's it. Okay, it's mostly printing the information which is stored information with respect to object. Okay, it's like right. And let us actually look at some of the attribute, like data frame attribute. We can see that attribute is shape. Okay, and columns or index. Let us proceed and look at my data frame is, let me look at df, like columns, for example. You just print, you can see the column, df, you can see df dot shape. If you see all these things, it's not followed by a parenthesis, right? Is it true? These are all characteristics, right? It's printing the characteristics, or or describing the characters. So that's what happens here, right? Is it true or not? Similarly, if you look at series, there are some attribute with respect to series only. So almost all, for example, D types or something like that, is able to print data frame. And series also, you can see S index, that is series name index. So if S is your series name, dot index will print actually return, and data type, S of data type, not types. Okay, and it'll print actually S values. For example, we have a series called as age, and let me make it age dot values. You print, actually you'll be able to see the values here. So this is a basic of your methods and attributes. I believe you understood the meaning of methods and attributes here. That's it. Thank you.